Before I start on this review, I just want to say I do apologize that this review was so late. It's like a week and a half. Actually, it's even later than that. When did this movie come out again? Like 2 weeks ago, I think? Something like that. So yeah, it's very late. It's been about a week and a half since I've seen it. But nonetheless, I want to get it out to you guys anyway. Let's talk about Maleficent 2. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil is the sequel to Disney's Maleficent, which is sort of a live-action adaptation of Sleeping Beauty, kind of. But anyway, it's the sequel to Maleficent, which came out back in 2014, and once again, this one stars Angelina Jolie, Elle Fanning, and you also have Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie, and Chiwetel Ejiofor as well. And basically this movie follows Princess Aurora, Elle Fanning's character. She gets proposed to by Prince Philip, and Maleficent doesn't really like that all too much, but their families meet. Prince Philip's family meets with Maleficent and Aurora, and then something happens, and now Maleficent is basically rogue once again, kind of evil once again, if you will, and along the way she ends up meeting up with Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, who happens to be one of her own kind, and then a bunch of other stuff happens, and things get really weird. I guess that's the best way to describe the plot of this movie. Anyway, let's get into Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. So even though I'm a huge Disney fan, you guys know me, I absolutely love Disney movies. I was not excited for this movie. I wasn't a big fan of the first Maleficent, and I don't really feel like it needed a sequel. In fact, I feel that way about a lot of the live-action remakes that are supposedly getting sequels. I didn't like Alice Through the Looking Glass either, but then again, I didn't like the original Alice in Wonderland. But anyway, I really wasn't looking forward to this movie because the trailers didn't appeal to me. I just didn't feel the need for a sequel. But I will say, there are definitely some elements of this movie that are good, including a few improvements over the original. First of all, Angelina Jolie, I think, owns the role as Maleficent. She was born to play this role. She's absolutely excellent. She was my favorite part of the first movie, and she's definitely one of the better actresses in this movie as well. I thought she did really good as Maleficent overall. And I also thought some of the other actors did good too. Chiwetel Ejiofor I thought was good overall. Michelle Pfeiffer I thought was okay. But the biggest improvement over the first Maleficent movie for me was Elle Fanning. And it's about damn time too, because she has been one of the most disappointing actresses of the past decade. But it was nice to see her finally give a good performance in a movie again, even if the movie might not be that great. Elle Fanning was definitely one of the brightest spots of this movie for sure. I also thought her character was way more developed than she was in the first movie. She was actually the most interesting character in this movie, which I'll get to a little bit later, but Elle Fanning was definitely a big improvement over the original Maleficent. So, well done to her for that. And there were some scenes in this movie that I thought improved over the original as well. The first 30 minutes of this movie I actually thought were pretty good. There's the whole dinner sequence in the castle that had some good tension-filled moments in it, and even some humor as well. Like the first Maleficent didn't really have a lot of humor. This movie had more humor than the first Maleficent, and I actually kind of like that a lot. And there are definitely some other scenes as well that were captivating, heartwarming, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, overall, there were a few improvements over the first Maleficent film. I also thought the score of the movie was really good as well. Even though there are some good things about the Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, unfortunately, after about 30 minutes in, the movie just takes a huge dive. And I suddenly just lost all interest. First of all, the whole plot line or subplot, I guess you can say, with Maleficent meeting up with her kind, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character and a few others, I really didn't feel like that was needed. and it really did nothing for me. There was a plot twist involved in that as well that I thought was dumb. Speaking of plot, there's plot holes in this movie as well. Like, for example, Aurora walks into a room and she notices that one of the mannequins is different. But earlier in the movie, like, yeah, we see that the mannequin is in a normal position, and then when one character turns the head of the mannequin, a door opens up. But then when the door closes, the mannequin goes back to normal. When Aurora walks in the room, the mannequin was still turned, but the door was closed. Plot hole. So yeah, there were a lot of things like that throughout this movie, and plus, those freaking fairies. Oh my god. The first movie, like, they're not in this movie as much as the first movie, but wow, they were the worst part of that first movie, and they're just as bad here when they are in the movie. So yeah, those three fairies, so damn annoying. So annoying. And plus, this movie, it's more or less the same as the first Maleficent, just 20 minutes longer, and the pacing definitely shows. Yeah, it definitely shows, because the pacing is just, ugh. And plus, some of the writing and dialogue is really bad as well. Michelle Pfeiffer's character, oh my gosh, so predictable. Like the plot twist that happens with her, so predictable. You could see it coming from a mile away. And not to mention, this third act is a blatant ripoff of How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World. Like, a blatant ripoff. How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World is a much superior movie to this. And yeah, like, it just didn't work for me the way it ripped it off, especially with the final scene. Oh my god, like, what was up with that? Like, at one point they're battling, and then in the next scene they're like, oh, happy, happy, happy. Like, what? Where are they going with this? So yeah, I definitely think this was a huge misfire from Disney, because there's just so many things going on. A lot of stuff I really didn't care about. I didn't care about Chiwetel Ejiofor's character or any of that subplot at all. I didn't really care about the plot twist involving Michelle Pfeiffer's character. Prince Philip, like, he was in the first movie for, I think, 2 scenes, and now all of a sudden, 5 years later, they're in love. He's in love with Aurora, and, like, they're, like, in a relationship. They never explain that at all. We're just supposed to assume that, oh, okay, he meets Aurora in the first movie, and then the next scene in the first movie, he kisses her to try and wake her up. Doesn't work, because, you know, it's supposed to be true love's kiss, and he knew her for 5 minutes, so yeah, no duh, that wasn't going to work. And then in this movie, he and Aurora are in a relationship, and they never explain that, so we're just supposed to assume that 5 years later they're together. Okay. It's just things like that they're not explained, they're not done very well, they're just completely glossed over, and yeah, it just doesn't work. So many plot holes with this movie. This movie's just got a lot of problems. Yeah. I don't know what Disney was doing with this one. Overall, as a whole, I mean, yeah, Disney, I don't think sequels to your live-action remakes are a good idea. I really don't. Maybe do The Lion King 1.5, as long as you can get Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner back and get Jon Favreau back to direct. But other than that, just forget about the sequels to your live-action remakes, okay? It didn't work with Alice Through the Looking Glass. It didn't work with this movie. I'm hearing they're doing the same thing with Aladdin. They're going to remake Return of Jafar. I don't think it's going to work with that. Just stay away from the sequels to live-action remakes. I'm all for the live-action remakes. I like most of them. But just stay away from the sequels. They just don't work, and they just come off as being huge cash grabs. So yeah, this is definitely a big misfire from Disney. Even though Elle Fanning's good, Angelina Jolie is really good, and there are some good scenes in this movie as well. But it's just torn apart by lots of plot holes, convoluted plot elements, bland characters, a bland story that you don't really care about, terrible CGI, I forgot to mention that. But yeah, just this movie, honestly, it's just not worth your time, I don't think. So for that reason, I'm going to give Maleficent, Mistress of Evil a 41% rotten rating. That is a C-. Alright, and there is my late review of Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. So, if you've seen it, what did you think about it? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. Make sure to leave a like on this video, a big thumbs up. And what's your favorite of the Disney live-action remakes so far? Again, if I had to pick, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my Lion King review, but my favorite so far is The Jungle Book. But yeah, make sure to let me know down below. Or what's your favorite Disney sequel? Make sure to let me know down below in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more reviews to come in the future. I did see Terminator Dark Fate. You can expect a review of that to come up pretty soon. But yeah, until then, once again, my name is the California Cougar, and always remember to stay California cool. Peace.